as long as there has been BIM, there has been problems with information getting locked in the model. The models are too big, and
Correct.
frequently owners throw those models out and walk around their buildings and collect serial numbers off of equipment. A total waste of time. So Collectus was created, and much of what you do at CDV Systems is help the owners break through the logjam of the model so that they can extract the disparate information in these different formats and have it be useful. So that's a great solution to that problem. And what you're seeing now in this it's only been a few weeks that you're working with Onuma. If owners require a structured approach to their asset management at the beginning, from the very beginning, then the work that you're doing is even more efficient, and they're able to get that information even easier.
What we've found is that these owners receive models all the time from the builders, from the architects, from the contractors, engineers, and they don't know how to use them. And from our perspective, the key is the models need a consistent data structure that can be passed across all trades. So we always, I'm going to take a big step back here. Here, we always ask the question to the owner. The first step to managing an asset is to locate it. That's the key. And these models that are being built by the architects, engineers, and contractors are ideal for locating the assets, and then ideally attaching all the data you need to it. So from our perspective, we're sort of taking it, from pre-design through final submissions by the AEC teams, and then from there it goes to some kind of FM and GIS program. So what we did is we received the model from Kimon, and we started incorporating our data structure in that model. And it includes not only design and documentation data, but it also includes, and this is per asset, and rooms and across all trades, architectural structure and MEP, includes data for design and documentation required by the architects, manufacturing information required by the GC or the subcontractors, and then operations and maintenance data. Because again, if I've got an air handling unit sitting in a model, that's the best place to be able to gather the data, enter the data by the various trades, and then harvest the data. So what we did is we have this program. We have Collectus. It's a library in the cloud, but it includes this entire data structure, so that as these assets are being dropped into the models, whether it's assets coming actually from Kimon system or assets coming from Collectus, the data structure is available for the teams to fill in. So what we did is we took that data structure, and the key for us was in this particular example, we were loading in a subset of the project. Actually, I'll show you an example here. So we said, well, these assets that Kimon has, here's my live screen. There were key assets regarding purchase order, installation date, warranty date. These were key important values that any owner would want for a particular asset. And again, we chose a room. We have data within that room, and this model becomes priceless in terms of the data structure. Again, from this setup that Kimon has, he can take the models and bring them back out to a data structure that can be usable by the owner for whatever FM or GIS programs that they're using. So from our perspective, these models can become they're data rich. That's the key. Again, with our experience with working for 20 years with architects, engineers, and contractors worldwide, the data structure had to be more consistent. Every architect that does projects, even internally with a firm like NBBJ, as an example, different teams within NBBJ are doing different types of data structures within the models, and the owner has to somehow translate that. And sometimes the data is there, sometimes it's not, and it's just inconsistent. So as an example, University of Virginia, they have Collectus. It's a 3-year subscription, and they provide this entire library to all of their team members, architects, engineers, and contractors for any of their projects. There's no charge for them to use this product, but then it allows the UVA to actually view these models and to and to validate the models to make sure that they're in compliance, because there are tools within Collectus that allows an audit feature to check the model. Because if someone takes a door family from, let's say, a BIM city on the internet and drop it into the model, it's not going to have the same data structure. And thus, there's a disconnect there. This audit checks the model to make sure that everything within the model is compliant, whether it's a component family or a system family or an annotation family. Now I'm digging into the weeds, but it's a tool it's a simple tool that the owner can use to check the models.
Work with a lot of owners struggling with this exact problem, that they have a lot of consultants that are very advanced in BIM, but they have more than one building that they're working, for example, right? The owner has multiple projects, multiple buildings. And even if each AE has a perfect record of using BIM for that delivery, it's not consistent for the owner, because the owner's needs are, we want consistency across our entire portfolio. We don't want 100 great ideas. We want kind of the base level there. And this was a use case here, I think, we said if an owner has a structured set of information, whether it's very basic or whether it's more advanced, like we talked about the database of spaces and equipment, then it helps the owner actually drive the discussion back to the AEs for delivery back. I think that's what we've talked about earlier too, but what you reinforced here, I think that's a very important point that should not get lost, because we know this is a challenge across the industry. So this fits right into the ALN presentations that we've been doing for several years now, that we say that data is an asset. This is truly how you make data an asset, because it's not just a liability that you have to go and collect it twice.
Right.
You collect it once and you use it over and over again, right? And you use it across the portfolio, so not just a single project. Exactly. And the same data, which we'll show later, can make its way back into other systems as well too. So it's not a dead end. That's another important concept, is that all of these systems, we need to be talking to each other in better ways. It can't just end up, well, we need to find one system that does everything, which is impossible. So if we're talking about asset management for the life cycle, it's a pretty broad need, and all of the different solutions and vendors and consultants need to think in those terms of how do we create that value for the owner, like we talked about earlier from that.
This is just a quick ROI. If you're curious, we found that for a 500,000 square foot project, if you're not using harvesting BIM to populate your FM and GIS programs, it's between 6 and 18 months, and at $50 an hour, there's a cost implication there. To create a BIM execution plan from scratch that includes data, there's a time and work effort there. To create the Revit templates used by the various trades, to create the content, again, Collectus is 36,000 components. It's a 2 to 4 year effort. And then they have to maintain that every year, because Autodesk is constantly revising what they do in Revit, and we have to update the templates and update the BXP and the content BIM execution plan. We've set up standards for HOK, SOM, NBBJ, AECOM, Denver International Airport, all of these amazing clients for the last 20 years. It's not just content out of the box. It's our best practice workflows of how to use this content, and has the data structure already built into it, standards, support.
Because we're showing obviously a connection between us, but all of this works with other applications too. Even though we're showing these examples, you work with a lot of different applications, CMS, others. So I want to reinforce that, and for us too. But the important thing is you have machine readable data. We have an agreed upon format. We can use industry standards like COBE or whatever, or structured formats that you have developed.